What's up, guys? What's up, guys? To day 8 of our vlog. It is the morning, and we are once again going to eat breakfast. Oh my god, I'm so tall than you.
Oh no.
This is terrifying.
This is terrifying.
But anyway, we are going to make
You
breakfast.
used to be tiny.
I was like this. Okay, I'll do this for you. All right.
Thank you. My little brother and I
are going to eat breakfast.
Yes.
Let's first look at the thing.
What do you want to make?
Wait, question. What's your thoughts on Stoicism?
Stoicism?
Yeah, Stoicism. Are you neutral about it? Do you not like
I
it?
took a class on Stoicism.
Actually,
I like it as a philosophy, but
yeah,
modern day Stoicism
is about like being cool under pressure.
Yeah, I feel like it's a misrepresentation of
Yeah.
actual Stoic philosophy.
I watched a TED video on it. It said like modern day Stoicism is about being cool under pressure.
Being cool under pressure isn't like a life philosophy. If you're just throwing a tantrum when there is pressure, or if you're crying or something,
and then
that's being cool under pressure is just like an adult feature.
An adult feature.
Yeah.
No,
it's like a life skill. It's not a philosophy.
I'm not agreeing about that. I just think like the philosophy. You know.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. As a certified philosopher, I think
she just had to flex off her skills.
When people say, "Oh, I'm really into Stoicism," it's like they've read like 2-3 pop philosophy books, and they just want to be like a podcast bro.
Okay? It seems right. All right, no need to get out your pitchforks. Sorry.
Okay, you can't just learn about a philosophy from a TED Talk. You gotta read primary resources.
Do you have books on
This is what we were. Yeah, I have a lot of.
Can I read them?
Yeah.
I'm very interested in that.
Sure. We can read some Stoic philosophy for our philosophy readings.
Oh yeah, that's what we should do today. I actually did a lot of meditation today. It made me very stoic. No, but it did. It made me very cool, calm, and collected.
Every time someone misuses Stoicism,
every time. Wait, there are other instances?
A philosopher dies.
Really?
Dies inside. I just died inside a little bit. Okay, what else?
No, I didn't. I'm talking about the philosophy. I just meant like the Stoic doesn't just mean the philosophy. It also means like.
Okay, but why did you have to meditate to be Stoic?
Because it calmed me. It felt very calming, actually.
Why can't you just say calm? Why? Like why?
Okay,
does that have to be Stoic?
Because it sounds. It's such a nice word.
It sounds
whenever
cool,
it sounds cool.
Reason.
It's also I recently learned the word.
Okay, This is a good thing that my brother does. When he learns a new word, immediately he starts using it in like everyday speech.
I use it also 30 times a day.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to make my tongue sort of feel it, right? I want to like put it in my repertoire. Because if I use it once, I'll just forget about it. I remember sometimes that happened to me.
Yeah.
I would like forget a word. I was, oh my god, this is such a cool word.
Well, if you don't use it,
I feel like this. No, I feel like I felt like I heard it before, right? But I never really used it.
Yeah.
Right. I really. Okay. Let's first make.
I plucked a single eyebrow hair, and now my eyebrow looks uneven. That's crazy. It was just one hair plucked.
You know what this episode's name should be? My sister lost an eyebrow.
Eyebrow hair. Just one.
No, if we just say eyebrow, technically, it's very clickbaity.
It is very clickbaity.
Huh?
It is very clickbaity.
Okay, come on, let's make a hot dog. Alright, let's get it on over.
Hot dogs? Is that what you're deciding on?
Yeah.
Okay.
You seem a little, I don't know.
I'm gonna eat cereal.
Cereal?
Yeah.
Mm.
And fruit, because we have fruit that's going. Oh, we need to do something with the bananas. We have mushy bananas.
Mushy.
Let's do muffins.
What about our Jell-O?
Oh yeah, the Jell-O. We can eat some of the Jell-O for lunch.
I don't think there's even enough for all of us.
It's $12.49. There's only 2 of us. Yeah, it's a problem because
the 5-minute videos.
5 or 10, sometimes even 30-minute videos. They watch it and then they're like, I know everything about this topic now. I am an expert.
This is like a pet peeve of yours when people do that?
Huge pet peeve.
So it's not even a pet peeve. It's like a, what would you call it?
A wild animal peeve.
Tiger peeve, then.
Tiger peeve.
You don't even need to give their names.
Could be anything. Could be like physics or biology or
Neurology.
neurology.
Sociology. Sociology, I think.
Yeah, sociology is a thing.
What's it about, like socialization? Like how socialization affects our brain.
systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's so many things.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you want one now?
Well, it does look very cool.
Oh. We're doing a simple breakfast today.
Cereal. Look at one question. Gosh loves cereal. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
This video is sponsored by Jell-O. Alright. Okay, can I take a tasty up of it? Yeah.
Yeah. How is it? Yeah? It's good? It's such a fun food. Whoever came up with this deserves a spot in heaven.
Heaven? Really want it?
I'm just exaggerating.
I think it needs to be a little bit more hard. Just saying.
It's supposed to be jiggly. You can just start the dialogue here.
Okay. Meno, can you tell me, Socrates, can virtue be taught, or is it not teachable by the result of practice, or is it neither of these, but men possess it by nature or in some other way?
Okay, so don't try to read fast. Try to understand what he's saying. So what did he ask?
Like, can virtue, like, for example, virtue means, like, goodness, right? Like, moral... I don't even know what it means.
Yeah, see, this is what happens in Socratic dialogues, too.
Socratic.
People are immediately snapping to judgments. They're like, oh, well, virtue means moral goodness, right? And then Socrates is like, well, let's start there. What is virtue? So Meno's asking, okay, can virtue be taught?
What is virtue?
Well, they're going to get into that.
Okay. Can you tell me, Socrates, can virtue be taught? Or is it not teachable by the result of practice? Or is it neither of these, but men possess it by nature in some other way? So he's asking, like, is it taught? Like how, like, teachers, teach children, like, Revolutionary War, etc. Or, like, do we learn through lessons? Do we learn it ourselves, or do we possess it somehow, right?
Yeah.
Like
or is it like you're just born virtuous and some other people are born without any virtue?
Let's see what Mr. Socrates has to say. Before now, Meno, the Thessalians had a high reputation among the Greeks and were admired for their horsemanship and their health. But now it seems to me they are also admired for their wisdom, not least the fellow citizens that your friend Artippus of Larissa. The responsibility for this reputation of yours lies with Gorgias. For when he came to your city, he found that the leading Apolde, your lover, Aristippus among them, loved him for his wisdom, and so did the other leading Thessalians. In particular, he accustomed you to give a bold and grand answer to any question you may be asked, as experts are likely to do. Instead, he himself... Indeed. He himself was ready to answer any Greek who wished to question, and every question was answered. Ooh, I can already see where this is heading. Meno was like, all right, I'll answer any question you asked, and then probably one of them was like, what is virtue?
Well, not Meno. The guy who came, right? So some other guy came from like a different place. And then he was like, if you ask any questions, I'll answer them.
But here in Athens, my dear Meno, the opposite is the case. As if there were a dearth of wisdom, and wisdom seems to have departed hence to go to you. If you then want to ask one of us this sort of question, everyone will laugh and say, good stranger, you must think me happy indeed if you think I will know whether virtue can be taught or how it comes to be. I am so far from knowing whether virtue can be taught or not that I do not even have any knowledge of what virtue itself is.
So what did he say?
I have no idea.
So he said, where Meno is from, some guy was there and he was so wise and everyone thought he was so wise.
Meno tried to copy him.
No, Meno didn't try to copy him. He's not saying anything about Meno. He's just saying about the place Meno is from, there was a guy there, and from what I understand, he was like, everyone loved him because they were like, wow, this guy's so wise, and he could answer all questions. But Socrates is saying, in Athens, it's the opposite. If you ask someone, oh, can virtue be taught, or does it just appear in people naturally? People will say, look, you are mistaken to think I can answer that question. I don't even know what virtue is. Okay? So he's redirecting Meno, because Meno immediately asked, can virtue be taught? Socrates said, okay, wait, let's think about whether we know what virtue is. Like you asked, what is virtue? We don't know. So that's what they're going to do. So he's going to continue speaking.
I myself, Meno, am as poor as my fellow citizens in this matter, and I blame myself for my complete ignorance about virtue. If I do not know what something is, how could I know what qualities it possesses? Or do you think that someone who does not know at all who Meno is could know whether he is good-looking or rich or well-born, or the opposite of these? Do you think that is possible? I do not, but Socrates, do you really not know what virtue is? Are we to report this to the folk back home about you? Not only that, my friend, but also that, as I believe, I have never yet met anyone else who did know. How so? Did you not meet Gorgias when he was here? I did. Did you not then not think that he knew? I do not altogether remember, Meno, so that I cannot tell you now what I thought then. Perhaps he does know. You know what he used to say, so you remind me of what he said. You tell me yourself. If you're willing for it, surely you share his views. I do.
Okay, so what's going on?
What? I understand.
Okay, so what did he say?
Socrates is basically admitting he doesn't know what virtue is, and Meno's kind of disbelieved because, like Socrates is this guy with the bushy beard and he seems super wise. So he's like, you possibly can't know, right? Do you want me to report this to, your friends, right? Like, his followers, probably. And Socrates was like, I didn't even meet anyone who knew virtue.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the first part of it, and then what happened? Then Meno said, well, what about Gorgias, right? That's the guy they were talking about, who was answering all the questions. You met him when he was here. Didn't he know what virtue is? And then Socrates says, yeah, I did meet him, but I can't remember what he said. Do you remember? So he's kind of tricking him, because this is what people do. If there's someone else who claims to know things or who speaks very persuasively, they'll say, well, Gorgias knew, or Balnish knew, or Karam knew. But if you ask them, well, what did they say, or what's their argument, then it's kind of going to start crumbling, right? So Socrates is telling Meno, okay, if you remember what he said, can you tell me, if you agree with him, tell me what virtue is.
Is that sneaky? No.
It's a little sneaky, yeah. But Meno doesn't know.
Meno's like this naive young guy, huh?
A little, yeah.
Let us leave Gorgias out of this, since he is not here. But Meno, by the gods, what do you do, and what do you yourself say what that virtue is? Speak and do not begrudge us, so that I might have spoken at most unfortunate in truth, when I said that I have not met anyone who knew it. If you and Gorgias are shown to know, it is not hard to tell you, Socrates. First, if you want the virtue of men, it is easy to say that a man's virtue consists of being able to manage public affairs, and in doing so to benefit his friends and harm his enemies, and to be careful that no harm comes to himself. If you want the virtue of a woman, it is not difficult to describe. She must manage the home well, preserve its possessions, and be submissive to her husband. The virtue of a child, whether male or female, is different again, and so that is an elderly man. If you want that, or if you want that of a free man or a slave, and there are very many other virtues, so that one is not a loss to say what virtue is. There is a virtue for every action, every age, for every task of ours, and every one of us. And Socrates, the same is true for wickedness. Now, I bet Meno said this, and he was, I came up with this big, juicy chunk of a paragraph. I'm going to impress Socrates. And then Socrates is going to be Socrates is going to get out a glove.
Well, what did Meno say? Did you understand what he said?
Yeah, Meno was every person, the virtue, for a man, what was it? He said something, manage public affairs. For wives, it's cleaning the house, taking care of the children, making your, submitting, what did it say? Submissive to your husbands, And then for like a child, it's different. Slave, the different. Elderly man, it's different. Let's see what Mr. Socrates says.
Right.
I seem to be in great luck, Meno. While I am looking for one virtue, I have found you to have a whole swarm of them. But Meno, to follow up the image of swarms, if I were asking you what is the nature of bees, and you said that there are many and of all kinds, what would you answer if I asked, do you mean that there are many and varied and different from one another insofar as they are bees, or are they no different in that regard, but some in other respect in their beauty, for example, or in their size, or in some other way? Tell me, what would you answer if thus questions?
Okay, so what did he say? He's kind of snarky, right? He's like, oh, I was just looking for one definition of virtue, and you just gave me so many. I'm so lucky. So he's kind of
being a little sardonic.
Yeah, a little.
Let's see. Mr. Meno says, I would
what,
say.
What did he say about the bees? Do you understand that?
He's like, well, what if the bees had different what is called not personalities, but like different virtues? All right, coming from their shapes, coming from like. Right, that's what he's asking.
He's not asking about bees' virtues. He's asking about, okay, so there might be a bunch of different bees, and they might have different shapes, different sizes, different beauties even, but they're all bees, right? There's something that makes them all bees. So he's going to ask me now, what makes it so that all of these virtues you described is virtue? Okay.
I would say that they do not differ from one another in being bees.
Right.
Socrates, if I went on to say, tell me, what is this very thing, Meno, in which they are all the same and do not differ from one another? What would you be able to tell me? I would. The same, I don't understand this part. Okay.
Would you be, what did he say?
And the fact that Meno
would you be able to tell me? I would.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The same is true in the case of the virtues. Even if they are many and various, all of them have one and the same form, which makes them virtues. And it is right to look to this when one is asked to make clear what virtue is. Or do you not understand what I mean? I think I understand, but I certainly do not grasp the meaning of the question as full as I want to. Socrates, I am asking whether you think it is only in the case of virtue that there is one for man, another for woman, and so on, or is the same case in the case of health and size and strength? Do you think that there is one health for man and another for one, or if it is the health, does it have the same form everywhere, whether in man or in anything else whatever? The health of a man seems to me the same as that of a woman.
Okay, so what is Socrates asking?
Weren't.
So he's right. So
I think we should make like a. Well, is there? I wonder if like there's a term for this, like you're Menoing this, Menoing, acting like you know something. But then again, there's so many people who claim they know something. I think like he's like, it's a little hard to like. You know how like you understand a word, but it's a little hard to describe, like corny, for example. I think that's the case for me. I'm just struggling to explain what it means. Like, maybe I don't even understand it. Who knows? Like for example, he's like, is it the same for health? Mm-hmm. Or like, what else did he say? Size and strength, right? Are there different virtues for that? Is that what he's asking?
So Meno gave different virtues for man, woman, child, elderly man, young person, right? So Socrates is saying, I want a definition of virtue. Like, I want a definition
Straight
of
up.
bee. Not just like, well, there are fat bees and worker bees and queen bees and skinny bees and stinger bees and these bees, right? That's what Meno said. But Socrates wants to understand, what is a bee? What do you mean when you say bee? So he wants the same thing for virtue. He wants to say, when you say virtue, that all those variations of virtue still are virtue, right? So he's giving another example. Now he's saying, okay, let's think about some other qualities, like health. So is being healthy one thing for a man and a totally different thing for a woman? Or is being healthy something that is universal, that is like, that can apply to both men and women? And what did Meno say? It's the same, he said, right? Yeah.
I am asking whether you... Wait, did I read this? Oh yeah, and so with size and strength, if a woman is strong, that strength will be same and have the same form. For by the same, I mean the strength is no different as far as being strength, whether it is a man or a woman. Do you think there is a difference? I do not think so. And will there be any difference in the case of virtue as far as being virtue is concerned, whether it be in a child or an old man, in a woman or in a man? I think, Socrates, that somehow this is no longer like those other cases.
Right, so he's saying, like, you're getting strong at Taekwondo, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I can say Kerem is strong. And Marve works out differently. She's also strong. But both of you might get strong in different ways, but both of you have strength.
Like that overall arc, right?
Yeah, as far as strength goes, you both have that. Right? It doesn't matter if she's older than you or if she's a woman. What she has is strength, and what you have is strength. So he's saying, okay, if that's the case for strength, why is it different for virtue? He wants to say, is it the same? Like, do they have something in common where the man, the woman, the elderly person, and the young child all have virtue? What is that virtue? He's trying to get that explanation.
Okay, and of course, Meno starts getting cold feet. He's like, some of this is no longer like those other cases, Socrates. And his hands started turning clammy. Socrates, how so? Did you not just say, he didn't say that, of course, did you not say that the virtue of man consists of managing the city well and that of a woman managing the household? I did. And he's like, I did? Is that what he replied?
So when you see this dash, it's because Meno has a really small response, or whoever else in the dialogue, so they put in the same line.
Okay.
So Meno said, I did.
Is it possible to manage a city well or household on anything else while not managing it moderately and justly? Okay, I don't know what this means. It's not possible.
Is it possible to manage a city well or a household or anything else while not managing it moderately and justly?
I don't know what that means.
So let's say you manage the household really well, or you manage...
Like, let's say we clean the kitchen.
Yeah, so like we're managing the household, right? Let's say I'm managing this household. If you're managing it well, it has to include moderation and justice. Moderation means, let's say we don't clean for like a month, and then everything's stinky, there's garbage everywhere, it's just like green gases coming from everywhere. And then at the end of the month, we do like a crazy cleaning session and clean everything. Okay? That's not moderate. On the other hand, we don't every hour, I'm like, ringing a bell and being like, Cam, deep clean the kitchen. You're like, I just did it an hour ago. I don't care, just do it again. Right? So moderately means you're doing it with a balance. It's in moderation. It's not extreme. And then justly...
Wait, if we put it in the example of, like, managing a city, this is like, if, like, let's say you give taxes, you don't give the taxes consistently. You give, like, you pile up all the taxes over the weeks, and then you dump it on the citizens.
Or you get their money, and then you give 99% of it to the military and 1% of it to education. Right? Okay. And then justly. So basically, to manage well, what do you need? Moderation and justice. Right? So this is what he asked. Is it possible to manage a city well or a household well without being moderate and just?
Certainly not, of course. Mr. Meno's saying certainly not.